Hotjar is a really nice use case to do an onboarding teardown for one reason.
We are having somebody from Hotjar soon in this video, so we will ask them.
Installation, I love this. I love this success message.
Hello everybody, this is Aazar. I'm the head of growth at User Pilot, and today I grabbed my CEO of User Pilot, Yazan, today to get his insights on user onboarding of Hotjar. I'm gonna let Yazan speak from now onward and see what his opinion are on Hotjar.
Hey everybody, welcome back to User Onboarding Teardowns. Today, one of the products that I've heard a lot about but haven't really used, and this is I think why I'm going to be taking control, try to sign up, try to take you through my thinking as we're looking at their website and seeing their mostly first run experience. What are they pushing for in terms of activation? But first of all, we're gonna start with the landing page as always. So Aazar, what are your first thoughts?
So my first thoughts are that I love the landing page. I think this is one of the good SaaS companies that has really worked hard on the landing page. The headline, you see the fast and visual way to understand a user. So they're really talking about users, means that this could be website users as well, which visitors, but they don't focus on visitors. They really focus on users. So they're really clear that it's usually for product marketers. And on the right side, they also say on the designation, like if you see on the picture, marketeers, product managers, and UX designers, they are working together. It seemed like a collaboration tool. And if you see a sub headline which says everything your team needs to uncover insights and make the right changes. So they're really hitting the point of jobs to be done framework, which I really love, because that's the key thing that every product marketer or product manager is doing inside the application. They have a really nice CTA. Both CTAs are very similar, try it free on the header as well. I love that they have a social proof right down there. There's a 500,000 companies worldwide, so people trust them. And they have added like a really big companies in there. So it means that these guys have added not just companies, the Captera G2 reviews and all the GDPR. So because people usually are concerned about GDPR. So I think these guys have done a good job in the first instance. I'm sure they must have run hundreds of A/B testing to come up with this. Yeah, one thing I would have changed a little bit, or I think that there's no product right away on my face when I come on the page. They must have tested it, but I think if I were them, I would have still kept those designation and showed a little bit product on that laptop screen. That's just my opinion. What do you think?
So they have done obviously a lot of things right. So it is very clear who the persona is. For me as a product manager, I think this is mostly for product teams. It's also interesting to see the marketers, right? So one of the things that I'm thinking about right here is the word users, right? So users meaning logged in users, right? So you want to understand your users, but still they have the marketer persona. And from previous experience, I know that Hotjar can also be used on websites. So it's interesting in terms of positioning how they're focusing on understanding your own users as opposed to something that would be used on a anonymous visitors of a website. So that's a clear, I think maybe change in terms of positioning. But they have the CTA try it free, meaning it should be a really easy product to install and dive deep. I think in the next screen we can see a little bit more about what they're doing. So obviously now that gives you more understanding. Heat maps, recording, conversion funnels. So again, this is something that you probably would use on a SaaS company or e-commerce website with logged in users. They also have the feedback solution. So they seem to have a bunch of solutions in terms of user behavior analysis and a feedback solution. So pretty exciting to see. Again, they're focusing on the personas. Very, very good. Very good. So yeah,
So-
and then their own pop-up is here as well. So what do you think?
So
Let's start.
I just want to stop you for a while. Like you see the pop-up there, I find it easy to navigate with this homepage. They are showing at the bottom of it. So if you navigate till the end, only then try to ask the feedback. I don't know if it's a right strategy, but they are doing it. What's your opinion on showing the pop-up right away when somebody?
So this is one of the, I would say, like the feedback widgets that they have. This is, they're also trying to demonstrate their solution. I kind of like it. I think this is probably going to be customizable in terms of when it would trigger on which page. But yeah, I like it, and it's interesting. It's out of 7, and then yeah, I mean this is cool. Yeah, so I think this is more like a survey actually.
Yeah. This is like this is for marketers, and I'm using actually Hotjar for our blog to see how many people are actually reading the blog. So for me as a marketer, it's very useful, and perhaps this is also useful to know inside the blog, like how people like it, and just get the feedback out of it. So now you're on the sign up page, where on the right side they show you're in a good company, over 500,000 users are using social proof, adding countries even, and showing the product a little bit. I still love it. I don't think I have found anything. Also, they give a Google sign up. So this if I'm user, I'm much more likely to go faster.
Yeah, so let's do that. Let's try to signing up with that G Suite. So let's see. So again, now there's a little bit of friction here. They want to understand a little bit more about the persona, right? And I wonder if this type of information will be used later on, or is it gonna personalize, the onboarding emails that I'm gonna get, or the messaging that I'm gonna get once I'm in the actual app.
So I have used actually the product, and it's sad that they have not personalized that part. And
Right.
we are having somebody from Hotjar soon in this video, so we will ask them.
So one of the thing is, if they're using this to enhance the user experience, that's one thing. But if they're using this for their own sales team, that's another thing, right? To learn more about you, in terms of qualification.
On the right side, they talked about jobs to be done framework in Paint. That was really good, because that's still telling me that, hey, what you getting out when we're inside the door, what you will be expecting it. So they don't leave me hanging by just giving me testimonial, but they're actually telling me what I'm going to look at. And but what I don't like is that pop-up that's coming on the right side, what is stopping you?
Yeah, I was just gonna mention that. This seems extremely untimely. I'm in the middle of signing up, which again, there's some certain friction that is happening, because now they're asking for more information. So I'm already in the middle of a friction-based sign up flow, and this seems like very, very untimely, and I guess the friction is going to keep continuing. So our site URL, they're targeting a wide range of different industries.
What's your opinion on this, on product?
So I don't know if this is a product tour yet, right? So there's a difference between a product tour that is just going to highlight different elements on the screen and tell me this does that, this does this menu is for this. That is I'm against. Until now, this looks like, it was the initial modal, and then, welcome modal, and now says eliminate the guesswork with recordings. see recordings of real visitors using your site. So one of the most important things that I think today, any product manager, any product analyst, anybody in growth that is listening to today, Hotjar is a really nice use case to do an onboarding teardown for one reason. It has a lot of use cases and a lot of personas and a lot of industries. So the big question today, how will they push me for activation? You have a wide range of different things. I could be here looking for a feedback software. I could be here looking for a heat map software. I could be here looking for a session replay software. So how are they going to push me? And now it said, this is what's going to determine that. So the recordings of real visitors, record site visitors, create heat map.
So they're still motivating at least, right? So showing me at least how it looked like on my website and trying to customize experience maybe.
Now I have a better understanding of this flow. I guess the purpose of this flow is two things. One, reiterate value. Obviously, trying to reiterate the value that you can put the feedback widget, the recordings, the heat maps. And it also, very interesting, they kind of also setting me up. I'm able to customize the messaging. I'm able to customize the theme and the colors for these widgets. And just telling me, add this, add that. But, it's
one thing in there. You didn't see that they took your website and they auto-populated the color in the screen behind you.
But was it the red color is not?
No, it is. I think it took from our website somehow. They asked the user pilot website and they auto-populated it, which I felt like a little bit personalization. We can look at it later and think about it.
For me, this was confusing, very confusing. So this flow was confusing because, first of all, it assumed that I'm going to use everything that they're offering. And they're not easing me in with that one key feature to lure me in and then maybe, get me to use other tools as I progress through the user journey. They're trying to dump everything on you. And I still don't know how it works, right? So they're telling me add the feedback widget, add the session replays to your website. I still haven't installed the code. I still haven't set it up, right? So you tell me add. And at the end, again, they're pushing you to invite a team member. We can agree that Hotjar is not gonna work. You can't add a feedback widget. You can't see the session replay. What I would say is maybe they would have been better if they added that friction. They already had a lot of friction in the sign-up flow. So why not add more friction and tell me to install the code, right? And then once the code is installed, maybe start with showing me some sort of aha. I would have been much happier to incur a little bit more friction, and especially now with using segment and you being able to install a code pretty quickly with your engineering team. I would have been much happier if I went in and I was actually starting to see maybe like session recordings of my users. That could have been the aha. But still, they went the other route. What do you think about that?
Well, that we have to ask them because they're going to come. I think the competitors do the way that you're saying. I do agree with you. And I think after this whole step, when you skip this step, they will show you something like that. I think it's a free product, right? So the product is free. They can already use it. The user has high motivation. They don't have any payment upfront. For that, I think it would make sense to add one more friction point to add that code. And just for simple one reason, because you can't show the aha. You're giving me the motivation, but I need to see the aha. And you have already showed me everything.
Right. The big question, if you have a bunch of features, do you start with the feature that is most likely to instigate aha? Or do you start with the feature that is that the persona is most likely be interested in? So they haven't really asked me which solution I'd be most likely interested in. Right? They haven't done that, right? But think about it. What do you think has the easiest way to instigate aha? A feedback widget or a session recording and a heat map?
Yeah, I think it would be session recording and a heat map because it gives you immediate.
Exactly, because I can just go in and they're like, oh, in the last 1 hour since you installed the code, we have for you these recordings, and we can tell you that these pages have the following heat maps, and instantly Aha is there. Again, that's a question that I can't answer, you can't answer, only the data can. But it's interesting to see which approach are you going to take. Are you going to ask me first about my use case and then try to push it? Or are you going to take it on you to say, you know what, I will be in control, I know how to show you Aha, and then I'm going to go ahead and do it? And again, I've always said, do not ask me to invite my team members before showing me the Aha. I have no motivation. However, if you had told me, look, invite your engineer to install the code, I have the motivation.
I hate the fact that they say skip this step. Initially, they could say, okay, done. And since I'm on the 5th step, right? Okay, let's move forward.
Again, so now we have a tooltip with a very hard backdrop to, your Hotjar tracking code. Next, sure, close. And then I'm now left on my own to install. I'm going to send this to a colleague of mine. So let's see how fast he can actually install it.
The good part about this here is that, on this page, they say send it to colleague. And then as soon as the colleague has installed it, you can click on verify button. And then you can directly install the whole application. And you can see that the application is installed or not.
All right, so let's see if installation is. All right, so installation, I love this. So I love this success message. And the trial has begun. Installation verified, get started.
So they are giving me free trial for 15 days that I can experience the entire product, which is great, right? So for 15 days, even though it's free, at least I have 15 days of trialing and experience of all the products that I need right now. What do you think about that?
I love it. I mean, as we said, and we always talk about product led. I mean, you have to start with this, and trial I think is pretty important. One challenge that I would say companies like Hotjar will experience is that there's like a lag between installing the code and getting your first results. So it's kind of like an awkward phase where, right now,
where you don't know anything. Anyway, I think even if you've installed it, you can still experience other pages, what they have, and usually what we recommend to our users as well. So let's say it's heat map, and the best part is on the right side, they keep telling you what you've done. So you know that what's been happening inside the application lately. So you're always updated, which is a good value that I should keep coming back inside the application. What about recording? Can you look at the recording part?
There's a lag between the installation and me seeing that aha. So I'm gonna naturally keep going. Recordings again, no recordings, funnels. So one of the things that I'm thinking about today is my developer installed the code, but right now what's going on through my head, what kind of variables, what kind of email, because when we went back to the setting and I looked at the installation code, the tracking code, there was no identify, right? So right now it goes through my head is, did my developer add some identifiers? Because funnels, I'm not sure what type of funnels are these. Are these funnels just based on page path, or also depends on custom event?
Cool. So I have a quick question for you. If you were Hotjar, what you would have done? You would have showed them a product tour you would have asked, hey, since I know that you are, it will take time, let me show you product and tell you what exactly each product does. Or would you wait for the user?
If I was Hotjar, I would actually work on the session playback feature, because that's the easiest one to kind of like show, right? And I would work on how fast can I get that data to my dashboard. So whether that was, I think heat maps needs a lot of data to work, but with session recordings, this is something that you can do very instantly.
Great. We have Andrew with us. Hey, Andrew, how are you doing?
Hey, I'm good, and Yazan.
I am great. We have Yazan, our CEO of User Pilot as well. We've been doing onboarding Teardown for last 20 minutes and just wanted to bring you in and
Awesome.
ask a couple of questions how you would have done it. should we just go to the application once again and then talk about from the landing page to the sign up flow again, just to see how things are? So I already have a couple of questions. First, thought about it. Yazan, you also thought about it. So I'm just going to ask right away. Hotjar is actually a product which has multiple industries, multiple use cases, multiple personas. And I'm pretty much sure you guys have huge, I would say, struggle or question, like, how do you solve this? So you have, like, right now haven't personalized. So what we usually recommend to our customer, like, personalize the journey by asking them, hey, what do you want to do? And take them to that specific part of the product. Whereas you guys usually ask those questions, and the marketing emails do not show the personalization as well. And the in-app directly taking to the feedback is also not there. So we wanted to know, like, in the sign-up flow, what was your decision in terms of, like, to keep it generic and take them to specific parts? So just wanted to know, start by knowing that specific question. Why didn't you not personalize based on jobs to be done framework?
So very honestly, like in the very early days, we built the onboarding, and that stayed since almost maybe about a month ago, 2 months ago, where we only really now have a team that started to experiment and start to work on onboarding. So there was no specific choice in the matter. It was just a matter of fact that there was just so much else that needed to get done, that needed to get built. So many more pressing questions that were coming from customers and requests that it ended up always taking a back seat when it came to use onboarding. And only now, like I say, over the last maybe quarter and a bit, have we really had a team now that's been working towards optimizing it, creating different flows, and really trying to help onboard our customers better.
Got it. Yazan, do you have any questions so far? You had
First of all, hi Andrew, how you doing?
Hi, I'm good, and you, Yazan?
So my first thought as I went through the sign up process for Hotjar, well, two things that I want to talk about. First of all, the sign up flow seems to be already with some friction. There's multiple different pages, multiple questions there. Why did you opt to have the installation process inside the app as opposed to, within the sign up flow, just kind of like force users to install that JavaScript before coming in, or at least have it there and have the ability for them to skip? And the reason I'm asking this is because it's much easier for me to go in with the code installed to get that aha, maybe see some session playback, other than that, just go in and indulge into the product tours that you guys had.
So when it comes to friction, like, one thing, I think friction is not always bad in onboarding. It's my personal opinion. And after having interviewed now over 60 people on Churn FM, I think some of the best companies realize that actually adding component of friction, I think Eleanor Dorfman is one from Segment, where they actually realized by adding a level of friction during the onboarding process and actually educating their customers better, they were able to reduce churn and increase adoption of their product. That's not saying that we're doing that, but that's just a small side note on friction.
I didn't say friction is bad. I said, since the process is already friction based, then also make it more friction. I'm actually telling you to make it more friction based. I'm not telling you it was bad.
That. Cool. So the next thing then on this is with the script installation. This is something that one of the few things we actually have experimented with our onboarding. And it's with one of those things that we saw very, very little results. And for me, this is a personal opinion, but the reason I'm thinking is already for it is that we have this group of people that are coming into the product and they're really committed and they're making sure that they get the script installed. And then they arrive into our product and then there's no sort of guidance. And then we spent a bit of time trying to optimize to get more people to that same point where there was no guidance within the product. And if anything, it probably created more hassles for us because we were bringing in people that were a little bit fickle to begin with and that were just giving up on the installation process as they got into the product. So just to give you a bit of an idea for numbers, we see sort of like the account created to tracking code installed sits around 61%. It maybe hovers depending on the month, but all the different experiments we tried by putting it up front or removing it back, like nothing really moved that number for us. We did see some sort of a success, but then there wasn't really any consistency in the results as well. So there was no statistical significance. And then I think in terms of choosing where to put it, before or after, there is one small use case where you can still use our product without having to install the script, which is using surveys. So it would sort of be blocking out one use case when you say get to the aha moment as fast as possible and try to show value. But yeah, so that's we tried, we experimented with it. It's something that we're going to continue to experiment now with the new team, like trying to potentially even reinvent the whole onboarding flow as well.
Got it.
Great. I mean, Aazar mentioned this already. There's multiple different use cases for Hotjar, right? It can be used as user behavior analysis and mainly feedback. Yeah, so these are like the two main things that you can do. But even within the user behavior analysis, obviously there's funnels, there's heat maps, there's session playback.
There's a lot
How
going
do
on.
you? There's what?
There's a lot going on.
There's a lot going on, right? And I love it. I love it. But my question today, how do you guys know where to push users first? Do you say, you know what, we're going to try to push everything, which I think that's what you're doing. That initial modal that I think there was 5 modals, and in each one you're kind of like trying to customize one of the solutions. Did you guys at any point thought, you know what, we can just either start with one, the easiest one to get into and the easiest one for them to activate and see value, and then we can push other solutions down the user journey, right? Maybe on later in day 6, day 7, whatever, as opposed to, because my feeling today from my first run experience is that you try to push everything and then you go and choose.
Yeah. So there's a few things in this as well. And the first thing I think probably interesting for you to know is that I actually signed up just before this experience and I didn't see the models, because I know that we're currently experimenting with the flow and changing things constantly now as a team. But in terms of deciding sort of which features to show and which ones to put up front, that was obviously done through a bit of quantitative and qualitative analysis, looking at the numbers in terms of adoption and which tools were our most used. And it turned out being those 3, the combination of heat maps, recordings, and incoming feedback, which allowed them to sort of get a taste for the heat maps itself is like a wow moment for people. And when they see session recordings as well, it's another big wow moment. And then incoming feedback is really one of our more stickier features. So people that tend to use incoming feedback on their sites stick around for longer. And then they also end up enabling and activating with other tools going forward. In terms of sort of the adding multiple tools versus a single tool, this is something, again, we'll be looking to experiment with. But again, I think this is something that's really important to understand who you're building for and the use cases that they're coming to us for. And you mentioned it yourself, like we have behavior analytics and we have feedback tools, and somebody might be coming to us just to create a heat map, and that might be their use case, and another person might be coming to collect feedback. So I think for us, one really important step in the funnel that we're missing, and a question that we need to be asking is, what are you trying to achieve with Hotjar? And this is something the team is going to be looking into, is looking at the different use cases, and then how can we optimize that flow towards them. So we're not putting somebody to create a heat map who just wants to collect feedback, or somebody who wants to create a heat map, vice versa, pushing them down the wrong funnel and ask them to create the wrong tools. So this is definitely something we are thinking about. It's just that, again, like from the beginning, as I mentioned, it wasn't a priority for us. We really wanted to optimize the product, making sure that the people that were getting through the onboarding were receiving value, were receiving the value that they were asking for and requesting. And it's just been a matter of prioritization for us, I guess.
So I have one thought on that. So I've been using Hotjar for a very long time, especially as a marketer, not as a product manager or product marketer. I see that once you jump into Hotjar and you created the heat map, apparently it seems like that you're not onboarding me to other products. I can discover products myself, but you're not making me adopt incoming feedback. You're not making me adopt certain tools that are there. That was something very interesting for me, because you have a bunch of tools there, but I'm only using one use case right now. I don't even have all the emails where you're actually sending me emails. Hey guys, now in the 15th, 20th day, have you tried this tool? There was one instant where I actually, when I saw the heat map and I did something inside the application, you automatically turn on a pop-up saying that, would you like to try a feedback forms? And that's it. So right now, it is all based on user own motivation to adopt that feature. So I think product usage after onboarding is a huge gap that I see, and that's what also we are also focusing for our users, because everybody can get done with onboarding, making them show aha, which is like a known knowledge now since we are pushing them as well. But like product usage after the onboarding is completely not done yet. And this is not just Hotjar, but a lot of bigger companies, which we've done Teardown for, are also not focusing. So what's your opinion on that? How do you guys actually focus on adoption in this case?
How long ago did you sign up?
6 months ago.
6 months. All right. So there's probably something that went wrong with the onboarding flows there, but typically we do have these post onboarding feature adoption messages that do go out. This is something I think was a bit longer than 6 months ago, though. So you must have missed up in the sort of.
Maybe I'm not a paid user. That's why
we don't segment in terms of paid versus non-paid when it comes to adoption and when it comes to sort of promoting the good use of Hotjar. We have introduced this, though. Our content team has been working on some great content that now shows up during different stages of the customer's life cycle, depending on, and it's event-based. So based on different actions that the user takes within the app, they'll then be promoted and prompted to look into different tools and to take different actions. We're only doing this at the moment via email. There's different channels as well that we can be doing a better job of. So we could be doing this in-app. We could even be using things like ads, Facebook ads, to promote and prompt new channels. Like, I think our users maybe have a preference of how they like to consume data and information, and we need to be taking and leveraging those channels a little bit better than we are today. But it is something that has been started. We have actually now just recently formed a team around it, and they'll start to be pushing that more and really working to try and help engage customers and get them to adopt more features.
And it's very, very interesting for me talking to a company like Hotjar who had so much success. And today, what they're doing is more about optimization. It's very, very fascinating. And a question I have for Andrew, are you guys spending, like, currently, are you guys spending more time optimizing for activation, or are you spending more times optimizing later down the user journey with different secondary features?
It's a balance. So the way we've actually restructured our company is along the user journey. So we have a team that specifically focuses on activation. We have a team that focuses on revenue. We have a team that focuses on engagement. And then we have a team that focuses specifically on infrastructure. So we try to restructure the company thinking of the user journey in mind and really like the different stages and phases that they go through. And then we have teams that are specifically focused for those actions. I would say the biggest area where we should have spent a lot more time early on, and it's probably one of the critical functions of any SaaS business, is onboarding. It's where the biggest opportunity lies, I think, when it comes to retention as well, making sure that you've onboarded users correctly. So it is getting a bit more emphasis now than it has in the past, for sure. But it's really trying to strike a balance of making sure that we optimizing to help new users get activated and receive value, but also ensuring that we're continuing to build the features to increase engagement with our existing customers.
Right. Do you think one of the reasons that a lot of, the processes related to activation and onboarding gets pushed back, especially in successful companies, because management or key people or different departments are like, we are at a, to a point where, we're at, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 million ARR, and, we must have been doing something right, and the problem is not onboarding.
Yeah.
Cool.
So
cool.
I definitely think that's the case. I think when you get to the point where you're really acquiring customers as fast as we were in the beginning, and you see this exponential growth, like onboarding takes a back seat because you get so many feature requests coming in from customers that are making it through. I think the point in time you realize, and like a good exercise for companies to do, is look at your sort of your growth ceiling and your current trajectory based on your churn rates versus how fast you're acquiring customers, and at what point you start to see growth slowing, and then you start to realize, okay, oh shit, like we need to actually take this churn and retention a little bit more seriously. Onboarding is one of those biggest ways that we can impact that by making sure we're getting and educating our customers. And then that's when sort of like I think the lights go on and say, okay, let's see what we can do in terms of internally to really try and optimize for this, because if we want to continue to grow at the rate that we're growing, we need to be making sure that we're optimizing different phases of the funnel, and onboarding being one of those really important and critical components.
Cool. I have one question that we've been talking in the onboarding, and this would be an interesting point for the viewers as well. So you push users to invite a team member, and right now I'm in my own Hotjar onboarding tool, my own Hotjar tool, and I see that you're still asking me bring your team on board, and then at the same time you're showing me NPS as well. Like the question is, during the onboarding, the last step was invite your team member instead of sharing with your developer. And so I want to know, like, what was the reason behind, before even sharing with the developer, asking to invite and bring team on board? This is something that you are pushing as your own agenda, or do you think it also is helping user as well?
So I think it's a both, but I think the timing is definitely wrong when it comes to our user onboarding. I think asking somebody to invite a team member, you're asking them to invest quite a lot of social capital in your product before they've even tried it or before they've even received the value. So I think one thing when it comes to inviting team members, yes, like it definitely, we see it's a much more stickier use case. The more team members using the product, the more use cases that are unlocked within that company, and then the stickier they become. But at the same time, asking somebody who's just signed up for a product that they're not sure about themselves yet to invite their team members is not going to be the best timing for it. So I think one thing that we're going to be looking into is around the timing of when we actually ask them to invite their team members. And a better place for that would be around the time that they receive their first value, or a heat map is ready, or they've got some feedback responses. At that point in time is a great point to say, okay, wow, you got some interesting insights now. Why not invite your team members to share the results with them? So yes, I agree with the point you're trying to make, that it's definitely not a good time that we ask.
Look, we love Hotjar, so we love the website, the sign up flow. You've been doing great job in there. I mean, you know, when most of things you're doing right, it's very hard to find out what's wrong in there. And Teardown is not only what's right and what's wrong together, it's the right things and wrong things together. That's one thing. And so the last question from my side, the comment that I love about Hotjar is that not a lot of companies do, and this is what we believe in product experience. Like user pilot is all about product experience, and we've been pushing this to our user as well. One thing you guys do really well, and I want to know if you guys have some kind of stats and data on it. So as soon as I install the code, it tells me verification of that installation is done, and that's an immediate product feedback. And if a product that immediately gives feedback to the user has a better product experience than companies that don't. So do you have some stats on that for our viewers who can take something away from this call, that you know, giving immediate product feedback will improve product experience and onboarding as well?
Yeah, so interestingly, this is one of those things we introduced as part of the experimentation to try and improve script installation itself, to try and give them an immediate way to verify itself. We currently see around, I think it's like 50% of users use this functionality to verify the script installation. So the majority of people installing the script, you could say, are using this feature as a way to sort of understand and self-validate. Qualitatively, definitely, it's a big feature that's helped alleviate sort of a lot of stress for customers. I think it is a stressful moment asking somebody who's maybe non-techie or even sort of a developer themselves who's been requested to try and install the script. So from a qualitative perspective, the feedback that we got from that was sort of definitely a much needed improvement in our installation process and part of the arsenal. But trying to give immediate sort of feedback and input, I think customers signed up for us to get insights. They didn't sign up to verify the script installation. So I think things we need to be doing a little bit better job of is trying to see how we can get value to them faster. And I think a couple of the features, I think just before I jumped on the call, you were chatting about this, but was like heat maps maybe tend to take a little bit longer to be created, but how can we sort of show you a real-time heat map and as it's evolving? Likewise with recordings, that's something that we can do immediately for the customer. So once the script's installed, within a matter of minutes, they can start to see some results. And we do have median times when it comes to the different tools and the different time from setup to like insight received. And definitely like recordings is the fastest by a long way, because if you set up a poll or a survey, it takes time for you to first send it out, to get responses, and that could take days in some cases to get the first bit of insight, but people are visiting your site all the time. So with heat maps and recordings, it's definitely one of those ones we can do and get you to value a lot faster. But then it goes back to what we were talking about earlier, is that the right use case, and is that what our customer is trying to achieve? Because then if we start pushing down the recording to them, but they're really just trying to collect feedback, again, it's not the best and ideal scenario. But it is one of the fastest ways we can get them to value, and it's something we'd like to optimize towards.
Got it. Cool. I'm still on my screen right now, and it still says that you can refer a friend to Hotjar and win awesome prizes. And that I also saw in my onboarding, like not like right away, but I still saw it very apparently. You guys are pushing for that. Is this helping?
Wow, you feel so strongly about this, Aazar.
Yeah. So I'll tell you, this helped us.
I want to get Hotjar t-shirt. That's why.
In the early days, I think pre-beta, it brought us, I think, 60,000 signups, just the referral program alone. And this helped us launch the product to begin with. But then we haven't touched the referral program since the day we launched. Like literally, it's now 4 years, I think, almost. 5 years we've been around, and like we literally haven't touched that referral program. I think there's a lot of opportunity in it, but we all agree internally that the way we're doing it now is not great, and we need to make sure that we're improving it. But it did initially have a very, very big impact on the company. It helped us get off the ground. It helped us launch. But now it's probably time, as we moved sort of into the late majority, and we really started to like pass that early majority or early adopter phase. Our customers are a little bit more demanding. They expect a more polished product now, and they don't expect to be asked to refer friends really in the manner that we're doing it today. So I think it has its place, but it's just something, again, that we haven't really had the time to prioritize. It was just done and left, and now it's time to come back around to it and see what we can do to optimize and improve it.
Makes sense. So from my side, I loved, just to summarize the whole thing, I love the fact that you guys have great website where you show the use case before the sign up. During the sign up, you did not leave the user by saying that, hey, look at, you will stop guessing and you will actually know what users are doing. It was very seamless. There was no email confirmation that a lot of companies are doing in their mistakes. And then right inside the application, you keep motivating me, and then also took some personalization of the website and took the colors automatically and then put it in there. And then, I mean, this is the biggest challenge for Hotjar type tools, is that you have to wait for the script to load and heat maps to come, and that you can't do anything about it. I'm still unsure how your activation team will go and keep letting the user get engaged in that first 30 minutes where they collect some data. So that's something that you guys might be still optimizing for. There are like invite a team member, the things that you can always improve and think about jobs to be done and take them towards specific path. That's my summary. Yazan, is there anything that I missed you can share with Andrew that might?
I would just focus on one thing. They are already collecting a lot of data about roles and industry. I would say actually it would be more important to collect the use case, like what are you trying to do, and then I'm crazy with the experimentation, but if I was to do this and create a really crazy experiment, I would say anybody that wants feedback, anything related to the feedback, whether it's surveys, MPS, whatever, I would actually send them straight to the editor. I love the editor. I've used it. I wouldn't even send them to install the code. I would let them finish the whole survey and then push for the code installation. If they wanted something to do with heat maps and session recordings, then I would obviously have to push for the installation of the code, and I would actually push for session recordings, not even heat maps at that point. And I would try to work with my engineering team to see how bullet fast we can get that first data. And that would be my crazy mind saying, I don't know how successful this would be, but as with the experimentation, and we know this, sometimes your hypothesis is not, literally does not change anything. Sometimes
you're going to fail a lot more than you win and succeed. But definitely, I mean, to your point, this is exactly some of the things that we're looking to experiment with now. Like we have only just had this team formed. It's one of our PMs, Renato, is leading and doing a great job when it comes to the experimentation around there. And we're also bringing in marketing closer to the mix as well when it comes to the activation experiments. So one of those things, definitely use cases, jobs to be done, is something heavy that we're going to be looking to focus on. And I think we actually, if I'm not mistaken, actually have something going into the product pretty soon when it comes to asking them what their use case is so that we can start to then optimize the flow accordingly, and really just making sure that we're pointing them in what they're trying to achieve themselves, and not being sort of selfish in a way and trying to push the tools we think are the most popular, the most important, but really what our customers are actually trying to achieve with our tool.
Great. Thank you so much, Andrew, for coming in. This was really useful. Usually our onboarding teardown is without the data and the reasoning behind it. So you coming in the episode was really helpful, and I'm sure viewers would also love it. If anybody of you and the viewers would like to have an onboarding teardown, just write #onboarding teardown below and subscribe, and that's how we know we keep going. Thank you so much, Andrew, for coming, and thank you, Yazan, as well.